Hey, we're back.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. Obviously, we weren't here last week. It was our bye week. But listeners, don't worry. Not much happened while we were gone. But I know you missed us, so we're here for you. And we're going to take good care of you.
When you say not much happened, I mean, let me see. Spring training, dude.
Well, yeah, but what happened?
Pitchers and catchers reported. This is an exciting time.
But there's nothing to report from them reporting.
All right, heard that.
See?
Dude, there was the report of the center fielder for the outfielder for the Kansas City Royals. It's done for like 6 weeks or something already. You guys are screwed, bro.
Yeah. That's there goes the season.
I can't even remember the kid's name. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, yes, welcome.
We're here for you. We're gonna take good care of you. So let's get it going. Guys, we are a little over a month away from opening day. So I think it's the right time to give our expert predictions, expert in quotes. We're going to give them for each division. I say expert, and obviously here at Wasted Pitch, we are never wrong, obviously. And since we're all fans of American League teams, we're going to first focus on the American League, and then we'll get into the other league. I believe it's known as the National League, something like that.
Well done.
Okay. Thank you. So let's start with the bottom feeders in the American League, the American League Central. I don't know what you guys think, but I think personally it is arguably the worst division in baseball, and I don't foresee much changing on that front. Would you guys agree with me on that?
Well,
let me think for a second. Yes.
You didn't have to think too hard.
I mean, NL Central's not the strongest as well, you know? I mean, a couple solid teams. I mean, you guys got a couple solid teams in the AL Central, so... But there's a couple more that aren't solid, so yeah.
Yeah, there are two teams who are arguably solid in their division, and then there are three teams who are pretty piss poor.
Yeah.
As it stands right now, I think the division still belongs to Cleveland.
Agreed.
And I think they're probably going to repeat as AL Central champs, which for what it's worth, is not something to brag about necessarily. Looking at it, the last time a team from this division made an appearance in the ALCS was 2016. And that was also the year that Cleveland went to the World Series. Personally, I think we probably see the same result this year. You know, they're probably going to end up with 88 wins, you know, win the division, and then turn around and have to play Houston or New York in the first round, and then just get booted out early. You know, in today's baseball world, I don't think having a win total below 90 really cuts it anymore, especially when when your division is so bad like the AL Central is. I mean, would you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Winning that division, you know, Minnesota could do all right. Chicago could possibly do okay, but probably not going to give the competition that, say, Minnesota will. And yeah, they're barely even going to win 90 games. They're probably not even going to win 90 games. And then what a horrible thing to like just first round of the playoffs have to play. Well, wait a minute. Don't they play a wild card winner?
Cleveland.
We played Toronto in the wild card.
You played Toronto.
And then we ended up playing Houston, and New York played Cleveland.
New York played Cleveland?
Yeah.
And Tampa played Philly?
Tampa
would have played Cleveland in the wild card.
Yes.
And
that's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And
okay.
And then Cleveland lost to New York in the division round.
Okay. Yeah. So
tough.
Best of the worst doesn't get you too far.
Yeah. and I mean, looking at the rest of the teams, I mean, Minnesota is likely the next best team, followed by Chicago. And Chicago may improve upon last year's letdown, but I mean, that remains to be seen. They do have a lot of talent, and that alone could boost their win total. Some good pitching on that squad, but I just don't see it happening this year.
Weren't they just a bunch of hype like a year, 2 years ago? Chicago?
Yeah.
Young guys.
They won the division in 2021.
Oh, okay.
But I think they had to, they played the Astros, who probably swept them or something.
Yeah, knocked them into next Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, yo.
And then filling out the last two spots is kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Detroit and Kansas City both have pretty grim outlooks, in my humble opinion.
Man.
And there aren't many good things to say about these teams, to be honest. The Royals are kind of getting a fresh start with a new manager and a new general manager.
But yet,
and if you couple that with some young guys who
bringing back Zach Greinke. Speaking of young guys, yeah, Araldus.
Yeah. Speaking of young guys, we got
getting those young guys in there.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily talking about those two, but yes, you are correct. The young guys had lots of playing time last year. They could slide in. They could help them slide into that fourth place spot. But I don't think we're going to see any big surprises from Detroit or Kansas City this year. Okay, moving over to the AL West. This one is a no-brainer to me. Astros are most likely, barring any strange occurrences, they're most likely going to win the division pretty handedly without much competition. But unlike the AL Central, they have some good ball clubs to go up against. See, I put that in there for you, Paul. I wasn't going to just discount every other team in there. So PECOTA projections, those came out last week. They have the Angels in second, Mariners in third, and Rangers in fourth, followed up by the A's. Paul, how are you feeling about this one?
Absolutely wrong. Angels technically should look better. They look better on paper. Yes, of course. It's so dependent on people being healthy, as per usual. Half that team's pissed off Art Moreno's not selling the team. They're not going to get second place. They're going to barely be a 500 team once again. And who's going to be worse than them? Texas Rangers, Nick. It's not going to happen. Again, you can't buy a fucking team, man. It's not going to happen. So, yeah. Yes, you're right. Houston is going to win the division. Mariners are going to win like 95 games, take second place. And
95?
95?
Yes.
Dude.
Absolutely.
Ooh, I want what you're having.
Belief, love. What is it? I don't care, man. There's so much hate towards the Mariners right now, and it's just so not warranted at all. Just because they didn't spend $300 million on somebody
toward the Mariners.
Absolutely, there is.
Who's giving the Mariners hate? Who's giving them hate?
Everybody's projecting them to be like roughly a 500 team, from what I can see, as what I've read or seen wherever. It's like, come on, are you kidding me? 82 wins is nothing to write home about, but no, 95, 97.
I don't know if
there.
I wouldn't consider that hate. I would just say that that's, a more realistic approach to their 2023 season.
Man, you're wrong.
Just
too.
my humble opinion.
Your opinion sucks, Nick. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
I do agree with Paul that the Angels have psychological problems to overcome this year, and that's going to bring them down.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a real mental issue going on with Ohtani saying he, basically doesn't want to be there. And as soon as they get into a rut, I think it's going to feed on itself.
I think they have the most potential out of the other four teams in that division. But like you guys are talking about, I mean, recent history shows that they just can't handle it. And it's so goddamn frustrating to watch. I'm not an Angels fan by any means, but it's really just sad to watch them wilt away year after year after year.
I love it.
With such talent too.
That's the biggest thing for me. It would be fine if it were any other team, but I think that's what makes it so frustrating is that they have so much talent and so many likable players. To be honest with you, like it's not like they have a squad full of assholes or we're not talking about 9 Manny Machados on the team. We're talking about Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. Those guys. Right. I feel like they should have their day.
And meanwhile, I think Texas is making moves that they're gonna, they're not gonna do anything amazing, but I think they're gonna improve over last year. So I'm going Houston, Seattle, Texas, LA, Oakland.
That's exactly what I'm doing too. Perfect.
If the Angels can get their shit together, then I think the Mariners and the Rangers duke it out for third place. If the Angels can't, then I still think the Mariners and Rangers duke it out, but for that second place.
Fair enough. I'll see. I'd like to see that battle.
Yeah, and maybe it will be more interesting than we think it will. Maybe the Angels will surprise some people and they'll put on a good show for us. Eric and I are hoping for that. Paul doesn't give a shit. He wants them to.
I want them to
lose
burn
115 games.
Burn.
Yeah.
Shohei's going to get traded mid-season. Trout's going to just cry. Whatever, dude. Who's the third baseman guy? What's the guy they signed for $800 million on third base? I can't remember his name.
Anthony Rendon.
Anthony Rendon. Horrible. Exactly. It's not going to work, man.
Yeah.
Art Moreno's going to be like, man, let's go get somebody. Suck. Yeah. Forget it.
Okay, finally, let's talk about the American League East. Yankees are currently the kings in this division and probably will remain at the top.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Barring any major injuries or collapses. But stranger things have happened. I think I said this on an earlier podcast, but it's my belief that the Yanks are the biggest threat to the Astros repeating as AL champs this year.
I can go along with that.
And I'm going to stick to that. They've brought in another heavy hitter, so to speak, in the pitching rotation with Rodon. Mm-hmm. And they've kind of trimmed the fat a little bit around their infield to improve their defense, which I think is going to be a big bonus for them. Yeah, it's hard to take them out of that first place spot, and I think the projection show it. Yeah,
there's no reason to.
The Blue Jays are an interesting squad to me. They've shown some signs of greatness last season, but they fell short in the postseason, losing to the Mariners. Partially because of injuries. I think Springer was out
again,
for the postseason.
There's the no love for the Mariners right there. That is exactly it. Ay. Hey,
you take everything so personally about the goddamn Mariners, man. I'm stating the obvious.
We're not biased here at all.
Jesus.
Go
Blue
Jays.
Team,
sorry, go Blue Jays. Yeah, whatever.
I don't like the Blue Jays. I'm just trying to have no bias here. I'm trying to tell it as I see it, Paul. I think this team will be an interesting one to keep an eye on as the season progresses. I think they have the ability to kind of keep it close with New York. Mm-hmm. Maybe the only other team in that division, but we haven't talked about the Rays yet.
Well, that's just it. The Rays are consistently good, no matter who they have. They have the best player development system in whoever, because they have not the best payroll, but they always just, it's kind of like Billy Beane back in the day with the A's. Like, he just delivered good teams. Mm-hmm. Same with the Rays. They know what they're doing down there. They're absolutely going to battle Toronto with that second place all year long.
Yeah, I think they're kind of what makes this division so interesting is because they're a team whose payroll pales in comparison to teams like the Yankees and the Blue Jays. But they also have the ability to really fuck things up for everybody else in the East, as they've shown before. Like if I'm New York or Toronto, I would always be looking behind my back, waiting to see if they're lurking, because somehow they do it. They spend pennies and just come out there and crush everything.
They also have the advantage of that horrible home stadium.
How much of an advantage do you think that gives them?
I think it gives them a pretty big advantage once you're used to the AstroTurf and the dome and the catwalks. I think it throws opponents mentally and physically.
How is their home record compared to other teams?
That is a good question.
Their home record last year was 47 wins, and on the road it was 44 wins.
So it's not much different.
No,
not much different.
I think Eric just hates that stadium.
It's a horrible stadium.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
I still want to go to Toronto though.
Like to visit,
eat some food, and visit and hang out. Yeah, eat some poutine.
Yeah.
What's up?
Get some baseball poutine.
Baseball poutine.
What about poutine in a baseball helmet?
That would be the best.
Mm-hmm.
It is now. Like the old ice cream sundaes that were in the helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a
The
poutine
old
Sunday.
ones, they still do it.
Oh,
Well, some
dude.
stadiums do.
There's a food truck idea right there, Nick.
Sweet. I'll get right on that. Eric, you want to give insight on the Red Sox, or have you already resigned to the fact that they won't be competitive
They
this year?
stink. I think, they're going to do better than last year, only because they can't do much worse.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder. I think Baltimore is not going to do anything.
What?
Baltimore did nothing in the offseason. What?
Last year, they were like almost in the
Baltimore?
wild card. Yes. Baltimore's got a young team. They're going to have the rookie of the year next year. Baltimore is going to be a 500
I don't think they're
team.
going to do anything.
They're going to have a better record than Boston all day long. They're actually I bet they're going to yes. What
Put some money on it.
Let's do it right now. What do you got? I'm betting you $50. Is that what it was, Nick? You want to bet $50 that Baltimore beats Boston? Yes. On.
I'm not in on this bet because I couldn't care less. I think they're both going to be shitty teams. So
I think Baltimore is going to surprise some people.
they might. Weren't they projected to win the World Series in like 2028 or something like that?
It was I think it was like 2 years from now or something. It was ridiculous.
They're going to go to the World Series 2 years from now. Yeah. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it.
That was a weird projection. I remember sharing that link with you. Yeah, that was a weird one. But yeah, so the East is going to be Yankees, Rays, Blue Jays, Orioles, Red Sox. Just a heads up.
You're putting Rays ahead of Toronto, huh?
Heck yeah. I'm almost putting Baltimore ahead of Toronto.
What? Okay.
I'm doing Yankees, Blue Jays, Rays, Sox, Orioles.
Yeah, I think it'll be close between the Rays and the Blue Jays. And that one's kind of up in the air, but it's going to be a fun division to watch. I think more so than the AL Central or even some of the NL divisions. I think this one will be pretty fun to watch.
Agreed.
Okay, now on to the other league.
Don't they call it the Senior League every now and again? Doesn't somebody refer to it the Senior League?
Yeah, the Senior League, something like that.
I'm not sure why. Somebody on ESPN said that. Their pitchers hit. Well, not anymore, but how is that the Senior League?
Not anymore.
We'll start with the National League bottom feeders, which is the NL Central. The outlook doesn't look great for most teams here. The top two teams from PECOTA are projected to be Milwaukee and St. Louis.
Naturally.
Yeah, and those projections have them having 87 and 85 wins respectively, which is not great. And obviously these PECOTA projections are not hard facts and things change and we'll see how it goes. But I think Milwaukee's success will depend upon Christian Yelich's ability to have that bounce back season. Mm-hmm. Obviously last year was not what he wanted and his production was way below what it has been. So if he comes out hot this year, it might be the difference to put them over the edge. But I don't know. But both of these teams, they're just not great. They're kind of in the same position that the Guardians are in, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like win that division and then yay, we get to lose in the first round of the playoffs. Like that's kind of what I feel like their trophy is going to be.
Agreed.
If you think about it, like whoever wins that division, like the Cardinals or the Brewers, they're going to have to play one of the top teams from the West or the East. And as it stands right now, I don't think they can match up with either Dodgers or Padres or Phillies or Braves for that matter.
Even the potential wild card teams, be it Braves or Padres or somebody like that, they can't. They're not going to hold up against those teams either. Yeah.
Cubs and Pirates kind of look to be fighting for that third place finish, while Cincinnati will most likely finish at the bottom. Last season, the Pirates, they showed a little bit of life in them. So maybe we'll see if they can build on that. They've got that, I can't remember the player's name, who was kind of like their standout player last year, their star player. O'Neal Cruz is the player's name who I was thinking of. And he's kind of like their new superstar. And he's really good. Right. And I think he's part of the reason why they had a little bit of success last year.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Pirates actually do something good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a while. The Cubs did some things to improve their roster in the offseason. but I am not convinced it will be enough to get them anywhere this year.
They got Suzuki, the Seiya Suzuki in like right field, and now they got Chris Bryant. Who else do they got? I mean, why aren't the Cubs good right now? What's been happening?
There's a lot of reasons. I feel like they just haven't been consistent, and I think they lost a couple of players last year. I think they may have had an injury or two. I think after losing the core of their World Series squad, they kind of had to start rebuilding a little bit.
Ever since then, definitely they've been trying to get it back, whatever it was. They just haven't had it since then.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't have to wait 108 years for another World Series title, but you never know.
You never know.
Where are we going next, East or West?
Well, we forgot about the Reds.
Oh, well.
The Reds just suck, so we don't really have to talk about them. Okay, NL West. We're going to do the West.
Yes, we got it. West.
This one, I'm not sure I can make a prediction for.
Interesting.
Yeah, it seems kind of up in the air to me. I think it's really tight between the Dodgers and the Padres. Like right now, Pecota gives the Dodgers a slight edge over the Padres, but only by 3 games. And I think that's a pretty solid projection because the Padres roster is great. They're well coached and they're bringing some momentum from last year's NLCS berth. Whereas the Dodgers lost a couple of big names and didn't really have much movement in the offseason, but Dodgers are Dodgers and they're a great team.
Just waiting for Shohei.
Just waiting for Shohei.
And I think the Dodgers have quite a few players that they've acquired through the past couple of years that have postseason experience, have World Series rings. I don't see anyone but the Dodgers.
Yeah, that it's just so tough for me to say that at this point. I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be one of the more interesting divisions in baseball. I think this division,
definitely,
the AL East and possibly the NL East are going to be the most interesting to watch.
Dodgers are certainly one of those teams where like they're going to pay for all those really good players, but they also have really good young players. They develop players. It's like they have a huge pool of talent to like trade from and still not be worried because they just always have
or call up when there are injuries.
Yeah. It even not making any moves like they did this offseason. I think they're still solid. I don't trust the Padres yet. Dodgers are still by far, I think, leading that division.
We agree on something, Paul.
Hey,
wow.
Yes. Success.
Yeah, I think it'll be close. And we haven't even talked about the Giants yet, who after their division title in 2021 missed the playoffs last year. And they might be a sleeper team if you could even call them that, but they might surprise some people again this year and make it interesting for the two teams at the top. I think it's going to be a really competitive division.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's going to be just Dodgers and Padres kind of battling it out, which would make it a lot of fun to watch. And I mean, that's kind of like a 3-way rivalry right there.
It is.
All those California teams kind of punching each other in the face.
It's fun
players
to watch.
and fans. Yeah.
Sadly.
Arizona and Colorado will most likely just be bad. Like, I'm not really sure I have anything good to say about either of those squads. They'll probably both be terrible and mathematically eliminated by August. Like, if we're being honest, like I haven't even. When's the last time either of those teams were good? When Nolan Arenado was a Rocky?
Yeah.
Right. Diamondbacks won the World Series in 2001. I mean, granted, 22 years ago, but
well, yeah, I mean that's.
I'm a Mariners fan. Like that time gap means nothing. Like,
yeah, that's. I mean, your timeline is a little different than the rest of the baseball world.
Exactly.
Oh shit.
But yeah, they can't keep up with all three of those other California teams. It's just not a thing. So
yeah.
Okay, finally, the NL East. And man, this division is tough. On paper, you would think the Mets would be the top dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But as we know, the Mets are going to Met, and all hell could break loose, just like we saw last season. They spent some serious money this offseason, and I think anything less than a division title and an NLCS berth is kind of an abject failure at that point for them, right? And I'm 100% certain that I'm not the only one saying this.
I would agree, but they will certainly.
It has to be. It has to come to that.
Yeah, that's just the
Yeah,
expectation.
it's definitely the experiment of throwing money at it and let's see what we can do. And if this doesn't work, we're not doing it again.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they also have to contend with the Braves and the Phillies.
Yeah.
No slouch there.
No.
As we know, they're not going anywhere, despite how much money the Mets decide to spend. Although the Phillies are trying to keep pace in that regard. I mean, the Phillies are like in the top 3 in terms of payroll. I think after last year's World Series run, the Fightin' Phils, the Fightins, as they like to call them, they only really added to their deep roster, and I think they're definitely going to be hungry to try and finish the job this year. Whether or not they do it remains to be seen, but that's a tough squad over there.
Absolutely World Series contenders. Absolutely, without a doubt.
And then for the Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr. appears to be healthy going into this season, which, if he stays healthy, could be huge for them.
Do you see how much money Ronald Acuna Jr. is making for like the next 4 years? He's only getting paid like $12.5 million for like the next 4 years each year. Talk about a team-friendly deal.
Wow, yeah.
I feel like it's worked itself out, though, because he's been injured quite a bit over the last 2 to 3 years.
How much?
Eric, your face is...
I'm doing a little fact checking.
Oh, okay.
Ronald Acuna Jr. signed an 8-year, $100 million contract with the Atlanta Braves, including $100 million guaranteed and an annual average salary of $12.5 million. In 2023, Acuna Jr. will earn a base salary of $17 million while carrying a total salary of $17 million.
It's like he's one of the best young guys the game has right now, and he's going to be, even if he kind of does this on and off injured thing. Deal and a half.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I kind of see it as a good, solid contract on all ends. I don't know. We'll see how he does this year. You know, if he stays healthy, it could be huge for them. They didn't need much help considering they've won that division 5 years in a row, but who knows? Who else is in that division?
Miami and Washington.
Okay. Washington is terrible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think what is their projection? 60 wins. They're projected to be the worst team in baseball.
The worst. Yep.
And then Miami, see, this is where it gets kind of hairy, is because Miami is projected to win 80 games.
I'd say that's high.
I feel like
it seems a little high, but
just to point out how bad they are, I just Googled Miami baseball roster, and I got the University of Miami baseball team as the first Google result.
Nice. Jorge Soler.
I'd like to see the Marlins do well. I'd like to see them in the playoffs again. I mean, they're kind of on that same timeline that Paul is talking about. They haven't won anything since 2001, but that's pretty recent for Paul. So, you know, let's see it happen.
They've got some names, but not big names. Don't expect anything from them this year.
I think we've covered every division in baseball, guys. I think that just about does it. So obviously everything that we say is true, and you should take our word for it and expect every prediction to be correct.
Even though we didn't agree on things.
Yeah. But hey, it's okay. All right, time for some quick hits.
Quick hits.
It just keeps getting worse for Red Sox fans because according to Mookie Betts, the Red Sox were using live video feeds to steal signs during the 2018 season.
Damn, Mookie.
Did you know where I was going with that, Eric?
Well, I mean, keep going down in the article and so you'll see some things.
Apparently, do you want to take it away, Eric? Do you want to tell us?
So there's a guy who worked for the Red Sox that now works for the Dodgers.
Oh shit!
And was profiled by the LA Times.
She's cheating. Mookie's cheating with the Dodgers now too. Then.
I mean,
anyways,
possibly.
Yeah.
He was profiled by the LA Times, and Mookie was interviewed for that. And he was asked if he knew that the Red Sox were using live video feeds to steal signs. And he said, yeah, everybody was. So, you know, I mean, it's what I said last time, that If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah, his name is JT Watkins, and he served as the Red Sox video replay coordinator to help with apparently hitting game planning. And he played a key role in the sign stealing that was happening in Boston. And according to this article from Bleacher Report, it says before and after games, Watkins was tasked with decoding opponents' signs, which was legal, right?
Mm-hmm.
As the team's video replay coordinator, however, he also used his access to live game feeds to supplement or update his work, according to the commissioner's office. This in-game use of video to decipher signs was illegal. The details gathered by Watkins were passed to the bench and used by runners who reached second base, who in turn would steal the catcher's sign and signal to the hitter the kind of pitch that was about to be delivered.
Right.
Therefore, the commissioner they concluded that the information was only relevant when the Red Sox had a runner on second base.
They were not signaling to the batter pitches that were coming to him from the bullpen.
I feel like this is just getting
They were telling the
ridiculous at
runner
this
on
point.
base what the pitch was? Is that what you're saying?
They were decoding during the game
Okay.
and then relaying that to the players who, once they got onto second, could relay what pitch was coming to the batter.
Oh.
But they weren't using like a live video feed to see the sign and then relay it to the batter
the guy on
from the bullpen.
Guy in second's like, yo, it's going to be a splitter. I mean, what is this? Like, is he trying to subtle, like, show him, like, dude, it's number one, number two?
Yeah.
Ay, Christ.
Yeah, you touch your nose, you touch your ear, you know.
I don't know. I don't know what to believe anymore at this point, because he also said that the Red Sox did not use the sign stealing system during the World Series, but that kind of seems like bullshit to me.
Even I'll say that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But if you don't think that every team has someone trying to decode their opponent's signs during the game,
You're absolutely correct.
I got a bridge to sell you.
100%. And I understand that happens. It's just, I find it kind of hilarious and a little disheartening that it's happening between like this circle of people
Who keep winning.
You know, mainly, yeah, who keep winning, but also, I mean, it's like a small group of coaches that are allowing this to happen. Mostly a current head coach of a American League East team located in Massachusetts. But anyway, we'll see what else comes out this year. MLB The Show had a tech test.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, did you have a chance to play it?
I absolutely did. As you know, this is like the reason I have a PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely jumped on it over the weekend. I was not thrilled with last year's game. It didn't seem like they did a lot of improvements, or there were still some janky things. They have made some major improvements in hitting and in the way stats are calculated and how players react based on those stats. It's shaping up to be really good. The test was just, from what I understand, was just to test out their servers. So there were only a limited number of players you could draw from, and they were all stacked. Everyone had, all-star teams. It's hard to compare how it's going to be early on, but it's shaping up to be a good game this year. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to test it out, and I didn't play last year's game actually, but it is a fun game. The only thing that I saw about it, I saw a video, maybe it was on Instagram or something like that, but it was a guy who was testing it out, and he was trying to have his player run the bases, and instead of running the bases, the player just ran straight into the outfield. So
there are definitely some bugs during the tech test. Yeah. This was not the final build.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Do they keep the stats of the players update throughout the season?
Every day.
Every single day. So
the stats will change based on who they're facing that day.
Nice.
Or how they did yesterday, or
So they're like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't play video games, obviously.
I think it's every day. There's roster updates every week or every 2 weeks, and stat updates every day, I believe.
Terry Francona had a weird occurrence this past week. He's been in the news a lot lately. According to this tweet from Zach Maisel, who is a writer for The Athletic covering the Guardians. He said, Terry Francona gave his annual team speech. He was so nervous, he was drenched in sweat. He declined dinner with coaches last night so he could make edits. He made pasta, but it didn't fully cook and broke his tooth.
That's some uncooked pasta.
He arrived at camp at 3:30 a.m. Yeah, and spilled his coffee all over the speech. There's a lot to unpack here.
I think, do we need to get like a babysitter for Terry?
What is going on in this? Like, is he okay?
I think he was having a stroke.
Is something happened to him? Yeah, that was my first thought. You really have to undercook pasta to break your teeth.
I don't think you cook it at all, man. How do you break a tooth on that? I think he forgot to cook it.
That's what it seems like.
He's been managing for so many years. How is he still getting nervous all these years? You would think that he's got a system, he's got a plan. He's developed how to be comfortable doing that all this time later. But
yeah,
how is that horrible of a day possible for that man?
When he was running the Red Sox, one of the things people loved about him was his humility and his self-deprecation. He always called himself, the worst person on the team and stuff like that. So, this kind of shows that that's not an act. That's actually who he is. He's kind of a goofball, doesn't stumbling through his career.
Bumbling. I love it. He's awesome. I love that guy.
He is great. Manny Machado confirms that he will opt out of his $300 million contract at the end of this season, saying that there's a lot of money out there. Apparently, the Padres offered him a 5-year, $105 million extension that he turned down. So his contract was 10 years, $300 million, and after 5, he could restructure, basically. Or he has an opt-out clause. And so they offered him 5-year, $105 million, and he was looking for way more than that. Sounds like he's wanting a 10-year deal, which is baffling to me. Like he by the time that's going to happen, he's going to be 31. So he's looking for a deal that's going to go well into his 40s. And we've talked about this before. It just seems, I don't know why we keep going down this path.
And he's had a history of injuries too, hasn't he?
Not as bad as
shoulder in 21, elbow 22, ankle 22.
It doesn't seem to affect his play all that much.
He was still good.
But as he gets older, those are going to affect him
completely.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, he makes $30 million a year right now, and is he trying to bump that up to like 35, 38, 40 or something? Is that the deal?
Yeah, he's wanting something kind of crazy, and I think he's just wanting a longer term deal, to last him into the end of his career, basically. And maybe the money is there. Maybe maybe we'll see at the end of this year, once he opts out, who's willing to offer him that kind of money.
I wonder if the Mets do end up doing very well this season, if some of the middle of the pack teams kind of start throwing some money around next year, trying to replicate that, if that happens for the Mets, which is still an if.
Yeah, we'll see.
You got to wonder if all the money the Padres have spent, if they're going to decide if we can't really pull it off next year, are they going to kind of blow the team up a little bit, or are they going to just try to re-up with Manny and give him that, so he's played 5 of the 10 years initially that he already signed. Is that the deal? And he wants to re-up and get 10 more?
Yeah. So it was this year, the end of 2023 will be the year that he can choose to opt out.
I think that's only been this will be only his 4th year there, right? He hasn't been there that long.
That'll be that'll technically be his 5th year in the contract.
Wow. Okay.
Finally, MLB TV announced that subscribers will be able to stream minor league games this season, as well as their regularly scheduled programming of professional games, at no extra cost to the subscriber.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think I'll be most interested to see how many people actually watch these games if we ever end up seeing those numbers, because I've had a few opportunities to watch the minor league games, and it's not something that strikes me as super interesting. But I think what will be more intriguing is to watch, or to kind of take a look at the games in the early half of the season or the back half of the season, whichever one they do it, with the automatic ball and strike system. With that being used, that will be interesting to see how that goes.
I wonder if that is why they're essentially giving them away for free, to kind of see if people are interested in the new rule changes. And also, there's some other baseball you might want to watch.
Yeah, were you able to stream them for free before, or was there a subscription for those games before?
I don't know. I don't know if there was a minor league streaming.
I think we occasionally up here, Root Sports had like the Rainier games and occasionally an Everett Aqua Sox game or something. But I think those were just like local TV stuff. Mm-hmm. But that's going to generate money for MLB to spread more money out to minor league teams and upgrade the quality of life those guys are going through. Mm-hmm. I think this is really good for them.
Yeah,
I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, that's a good point.
Now teams have to provide more for them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Actually pay them a decent amount.
Hopefully, like that money will get.
So this might be a way to get them involved in that.
Yeah, yeah.
You mean instead of paying them $9,000 a year to play baseball,
they have to drive an Uber before and after games?
Yeah. And go stay with a host family.
One thing that happened this week was the permanent implementation of the runner on second rule. So we saw that the past, 3 seasons? I think it started in 2020.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on the rule? And
I love it.
Okay.
I absolutely love it. Too often, extra inning games just come down to a home run derby. Who can get a home run first? Mm-hmm. This adds a little bit of strategy to it, adds a little bit of pressure to it. I think it you don't end up, you still can end up with 28 innings, but the chances of it are much less with starting with a man on second.
It's way more exciting, actually. It's way more exciting.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you guys. Is there a reason why we don't have it in the postseason?
Purists.
I think it was a purist thing. Exactly. That's exactly it. Old school baseball. This is not. But they are trying to update a little bit. So maybe it will soon be a thing in playoffs. It could potentially very well be.
Would you want to see it in the playoffs? Oh, see,
yes.
There's the big question.
I'm totally okay with it. I'm okay with it. I like it. It's exciting. It's fun.
I don't think you lose anything by implementing it, and it makes the game better.
It's kind of like the overtime rules for NHL. Are you familiar with the overtime rules for NHL, where they drop down to instead of 6 guys, they drop down to 4 people, 1 goalie, and then 3 men on the ice, and they wait a minute, 2 minutes after the end of the game, and they get on there, and there's barely anybody on the ice. So games end in 3 minutes. I think this is get that ball rolling as far as, base runners, hits, advanced runners. This is great. Jump right into strategy. I love it.
Yeah, I do think it makes it a little bit more exciting, and I'll admit to that. Watching the games during the regular season when they do go into extra innings, it just adds a little more suspense to it. I feel like in the postseason, though, it might be adding too much suspense to the whole process. And the only reason I say that is because I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It almost seems like the postseason is already intense enough, and then what you may end up with is inadvertently using too many players when you have that second runner, or the runner on second base. I think you may struggle to keep up with all the players needed. Does that make sense? Did I explain that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also the downside of having one set of rules for the regular season and another set of rules for the postseason.
Agreed.
Yeah. Agreed.
But it's going to become one of those things where, once the shift started to become a thing and people started to use it to their advantage kind of thing, I think they're going to just do the same thing. And that's a good thing. I never thought of it about using a completely different bench player to come out and be a pinch runner, because then you're right. You're totally using somebody that maybe you didn't want to use yet, you know? I would assume that you maybe try to use can you use I don't know how you would do that. That's a very good point, Nick. You can't use somebody that batted previous inning or the last batter up or something like that, could you, or whatever?
Well, because
it's only that first inning.
They used.
It's only that first.
It's always the person who was up.
It's every inning.
Every inning they start with the runner on second, 10th, 11th, 12th. Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, whole new ball game.
I just don't know that it would make a big difference in the postseason. I'm not convinced until I see it. I'm not convinced.
What's going to make a big difference in the postseason?
The only reason
it wouldn't make a difference in terms of what
it's going to force the situation. That's what you're thinking. It's going to force it.
That's going to.
Yeah.
The other reason I'm for it is we used to have on teams a guy who would pinch run. That guy that position does not exist anymore. But this brings it back that you would have someone with some speed who maybe doesn't have the best bat or the best defense. You put him on second in a tight spot.
Yeah, but can you do that? Can you switch out who goes on second?
Yeah, you lose that player. If he doesn't score, he's going to come up to bat.
I think we might need to do a little research.
I don't know.
That's kind of weird. Yeah, you can't use a bunch of extra players like that, though. That's not going to work out. There has to be a rule about
that. Add strategy to it, though.
That player that comes in on second can't be a new player every inning.
Why can't it? If you have the players, I mean, in the postseason, you're not going to have the players to do it every time. Well,
you might.
But I mean, you can still end up with it going 12, 13, 14 innings.
The person on base has
You're not going to put a new guy in every time.
The person on base has to be like the last batter from the previous inning or something like that. It has to be to make that work and flow.
Okay. The runner placed on second base at the start of each half inning and extras will be the player in the batting order immediately preceding that half inning's leadoff hitter or a pinch runner.
Yeah.
So if the number 7 hitter in the order is due to lead off, the number 6 hitter or a pinch runner for the number 6 hitter would be placed on second base.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know. Maybe I changed my mind. Maybe I just want them to change it for the postseason as well. Just fucking rip the Band-Aid off.
Fair enough.
I agree. It should be all or nothing.
Yeah.
But I do like this rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar to the DH rule. Like, have it all or nothing, right? Okay. Yeah. You changed my mind, Eric. Way to go. Congratulations.
Good job, Eric.
I'm on a roll today. Gonna make you all Red Sox fans next.
Well, let's not go that far. We just shit on the Red Sox twice tonight, so I don't think we're going to be Red Sox fans anytime soon.
We shit on the Royals every week. So.
Yeah, but hey, man. What are you laughing about, Paul?
It's funny.
You guys have won 2 postseason games since 1968.
And they matter. They matter.
Yeah, they do. I know. They matter to the city of Seattle. Okay. I think that's it. I think we got it.
Heard that.
Thanks for listening, everybody. As always, it's nice to sit down, chat, tell you all a story. Speaking of stories, actually, tune in next week because we will tell the story of the Pittsburgh drug trials. And if you don't know what that is, that's fine. It's a great story, and it's about drugs.
Sweet.
Drugs and baseball?
Sweet. Drugs and baseball.
Perfect.
In Pittsburgh.
Perfect.
We are on Spotify now, and in case you didn't notice, in case you didn't get the memo, as always, you can check out our website, wastedpitch.com, and we will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.